Thank you for joining us for Turn the Page with Paige, brought to you by Southwestern Illinois College. I'm your host, Paige Holsey. Surely you've heard someone called an odd duck. Maybe they're just a little quirky, eccentric, different. Maybe that's you. Maybe it's me some days. Instead of an odd duck, how about an odd dog? That's who readers will meet and come to adore in Leia Barrett's children's book, The Odd Dog. It's the story of a quirky stray learning to live with a family for the very first time. Author Leia Barrett from Kansas City joins us here in studio. Thank you for being here with really a beautiful, very well done book.
Thank you so much, Paige.
Glad you made the trip across the state. So this book, I know that it has been a labor of love for you. Where did your love for dogs and specifically strays come from?
I have loved dogs since I was a little girl. At 3 or 4, I can't remember which, my dad actually raised greyhounds. We had a dog we adopted when I was 7 that we had until I was 25. And so I've just always had a real passion for rescue and for especially odd dogs that you couldn't possibly know what kind of dog they were.
That's some people would say mutt.
Yes.
Odd is much better. I like that. I'm gonna steal that and start calling dogs odd dogs. So this is a work of fiction, but it's inspired by some real life too, right?
Yes. So when I turned 40, the one birthday present I asked for my husband, I said I finally wanted to have our first family dog. And so we adopted Layla. Layla was a wonderful, she was a stray who basically had been wandering the streets of Kansas City after doing what they call door darting, when she accidentally, leapt out the door and then ran away from her foster. And they had all this documentation of her just wandering the streets of Overland Park. She looked both ways before she crossed the street. But she came out of that unscathed and full of love. And, I just feel like strays can have a bad reputation before you've even met them, and they are some of the most loving and grateful dogs. And so I'm very passionate, especially about making sure strays can find homes.
They can also be very smart and very resourceful.
Yes.
Which we learn a little bit about in the book. Tell me more about the storyline in your book.
So the odd dog basically doesn't remember where it comes from, but we start the book when it is first getting adopted. And Odd says, I'm a little worried because my mom and dad don't know I'm an odd dog. And so we flash back to the first memories that Odd has. And Odd says, I was on my own. I don't remember how I got in the wilds, which are basically a park. But luckily I had friends who taught me important life skills. And so Odd basically learns from the animals in the park and feels fairly confident that they've learned some important life skills. But then when they go into the house, those life skills don't quite translate the way Odd hopes. They make their mom and dad concerned. They are worried for their safety, and they even try to climb the tablecloth to get some food, which is never a good idea. It's never a good idea to climb in the house.
It's funny because in the book, it's such specific examples of the lifestyle of a stray dog, but kind of can translate into transferable life skills, whether it's toddlers or adults and relationships. There's some double meaning in some of it.
Yes. Yeah, and I would definitely say that the hope is that kids kind of see themselves in the dog. One of the reviews talked about how Odd is kind of anthropomorphized, and I think that's true. We wanted it to be an odd dog. We wanted it to really, I wanted kids to kind of see a little bit of themselves in it too.
Yeah. The illustrations, beautiful. I love the watercolor style. Can you talk about your work and your conversations with the illustrators and why you were drawn to that look?
We really, in one word, we wanted a sentimental book. One of the books that I really fell in love with was Harry the Dirty Dog, which is a total classic. If you've ever been to Kansas City and been to the Rabbit Hole, one of their displays is actually a Harry the Dirty Dog when he's in the bathtub. And so originally when we chose a watercolor style, we had wanted to do all yellows and greens, just like Harry the Dirty Dog. We found that it looked a little bit more washed out than we wanted, and we wanted the parents to have a little bit more of a complex skin tone. So we did adopt a few more colors, but you see tons of yellows and greens throughout the book. And, you know, for me, I think that rescue really just tugs at our hearts, especially if you are someone who is really passionate about rescue. And so we wanted that watercolor style that felt, that harkened back, but still felt still felt modern in its own way. It's a very timeless style.
It is.
Sometimes computer graphics or things like that can feel very modern, and in 20 years they might feel dated. Watercolor just is always something that just captures your heart.
And it looks very hand-drawn.
Yes. Yeah.
Can you hold up your copy of the book? Because I'm telling you, the quality of this is so phenomenal. Will you share that spread that opens up? You don't see this in a lot of books, but I love the fabric yellow color and then this little secret extra spread.
We really wanted to have something that made it really enjoyable to read in person. And so we created what I call a secret dog park. And every single dog in this spread and in this book is based on a real dog. They were, and we can talk about that in a second too. But we crowdfunded the book, and so people had the opportunity to have their dogs as extras.
Yes. Well, let's go ahead and just talk about that now, because you did crowdfund this book. What did it feel like to see that support of other people literally pouring in to make this dream possible, because they also cared about the cause?
You know, it was so gratifying. Crowdfunding is a great way to raise money, but it's also a great way to just see if the market is interested in what you're offering. And the outpouring of support and the excitement I have seen from my friends who supported this campaign and this book was just incredibly gratifying. And the joy they have felt as they've seen the book come to life and seen the characters come to life, it's like having friends even if I've maybe never met them.
Yeah. Let's look at these pins that you have here. Who are these dogs? And just tell me all about this, because they're adorable.
Yeah, so when we were, I'm going to just hold this up if that's okay. So about 6 months ago, we decided that we wanted to branch out into enamel pins. I had had a lot of requests for that. And so basically during a crowdfunding campaign, we got to vote on which characters would become pins. And so, for example, a dear friend of mine who is a real estate agent has 4 dogs, and 2 of them, Dharma and Happy, are inseparable. And so, of course, they had to be our cute park greeters. These are these are both odd. This is Waylon. He is actually a little Instagram influencer. He's 2 years old and he already has 5,000 followers.
Wow.
And he actually just got his therapy dog certification. Cool. And this is a little, actually deaf Pomeranian who just inspired me. His name was Ghost. And so I really wanted to have a little ghost pin. And then these are just some little tugging toys from the book. They were just little background images.
I'm also noticing the hot dog. I understand that there are hot dogs throughout. Explain what that's about.
So if you ever work in rescue, one of the most popular, what they call high dollar treats, is hot dogs. Every dog pretty much loves them. And so hot dogs are presented throughout the book. You see Odd holding up a hot dog when they're in the wild. You see them climbing to get hot dogs. And then in the end, there's a really cute picture of Odd in a hot dog costume, which will be part of an eventual book, because that has definitely been a fan favorite. But one of the reasons I was so fascinated by hot dogs was not only that rescue component, but also when Layla first came to us, she did not like hot dogs at all. I kind of think maybe it was a little bit of PTSD from being in a shelter. It took her about 6 months, and then she eventually started loving them again, especially when they were associated with learning tricks.
Yeah, such great stories behind this work. What else are you working on?
So I am working on a follow-up book for The Odd Dog. It's called The Odd Dog's Guide to Making Friends. When I first adopted Layla, I learned about the 3-3-3 rule, which is basically there's a timeline when dogs exhibit behaviors in the first 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months that can be off-putting if you're new to adoption. For example, the first 3 days, they might spend all their time sleeping, and where families might expect them to be really affectionate. And so these are guides that can help offset the potential for a dog to be returned to the shelter. And so we're going to have a really light take on this, where we're just going to walk through the first 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months that a new dog comes into Odd's house, and it's going to be from Odd's perspective.
Great, that'll be a great resource. Before we go here, last question, what is your recommendation for another children's book?
You know, one of my favorite books, and I did bring it here today, is it's by Julia Sarcone Roach, and it's called The Bear Ate Your Sandwich. And my husband and I, when we first read this, the ending completely surprised us. It is this whole story about a bear going through the big city and exploring, and it's this elaborate story that has a really fantastic surprise ending that I'm not going to spoil.
Okay.
But I highly recommend it.
I'll have to see for myself. Thank you so much for joining us, driving in from Kansas City, and all the work that you're doing to represent the odd dogs out there in the world.
Thank you so much.
Thank you at home as well for joining us today for Turn the Page with Paige. We hope to see you again soon.